This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. 5 years ago, deep in a bear market, a group of traditional finance experts founded BitGet, and they've been building ever since. Now, with 20 million users worldwide, BitGet is committed to helping users trade smarter by providing a secure one-stop crypto investment solution with copy trading, future trading, and spot trading. Your security is their priority, and BitGet has one of the largest protection funds in the industry, with US $300 million to cover potential trader losses from unforeseen events that are not due to misconduct from the user or platform. BitGet wants to inspire everyone to embrace Web3, so if you're new to crypto, learn more at the BitGet Academy with free blockchain courses, crypto guides, cryptocurrency trading strategies, and more. Or for the experienced investor, trade smarter with daily access to institutional-grade crypto market intelligence and trends analysis with BitGet Research. I've put links to BitGet Research and the BitGet Academy in the show notes, so get amongst it or simply go to bitget.com. Thank you to BitGet, and now it is on with the show. And my guest today is Mark Hendrickson. Mark is the general manager of Lether, the Bitcoin wallet for the rest of us, or for all of us. Hey, welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Great to have you here, Mark. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be super cool if you could please introduce yourself. Love to hear a little bit of your personal and professional backstory, what you've been doing in the lead up to, well, becoming general manager of Lether.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in Menlo Park, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, and really was surrounded by tech in my childhood. And no surprise, got into startups first thing out of college. First job was at TechCrunch, wrote about a bunch of startups there, and actually got into product management there as well. Left, did my first startup. This was way back in 2009, so over a decade and a half now. And from there, just did a string of consumer startups, mostly in Web 2.0, and moved out here to Spain about 10 years ago and got into crypto really around 2018. I think having worked in Web 2.0, I saw the pitfalls of that approach and jumped into crypto to pursue a better way, a way that would enable individuals with more ownership and freedom over their technologies. So really from there, I've been on this path towards managing Lether because from my first day in crypto, I was working with a team that was working on Web3 possibilities on Bitcoin. And this was really not a thing most people talked about back in 2018. The last year or so, it's become much more trendy. But we've been spending the last 5+ years working in various ways to bring Web3 to Bitcoin. And that's still what I'm working on these days.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark. I suppose it'd be good then as we start to learn about Lether. So some people will be aware, but Lether it used to be the Hero wallet, right? Because I used to have the Hero wallet myself, well, I still do. But now, of course, It is, now it's the Lether wallet. Funny how that works. So I'd love to just to, understand, I guess, what the thinking there was, why I don't know if you guys think of it as a rebrand or if that's just what it looks like from the outside, but why the transition from Hero to Lether?
Yeah, well, there are a few reasons. I think the main ones are that we started off as the original wallet for the Stacks blockchain, which is a layer 2 for Bitcoin. And so when I talk about bringing Web3 to Bitcoin, our origin was on a layer. So Stacks is a layer for Bitcoin, and we used to be called Hero Wallet in that context, and working at a company called Hero that's really focused on Stacks-based technologies. But as we've matured and we've seen innovation opportunities open up on Bitcoin itself as a layer 1, we've also added a lot of functionality, and we've essentially redesigned the product to support L1 technologies on Bitcoin in addition to L2 technologies with Stacks. And so this rebrand was a way for us to recognize that we've done we'd undergone a pretty large shift, if you will, with our orientation. Not that we were sort of leaving the L2 stuff behind, but we were becoming an L1 first sort of product with L2 as an extensible sort of functional layer to what we were doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that makes sense, and I guess what you're talking about is the rise in ordinals on Bitcoin over the last 12 months or so. So maybe that's a good place to start. You said it yourself at the beginning, Mark, how not many people were talking about being able to build on Bitcoin, even 2 years ago, perhaps except for Manib at Stacks, and he was obviously early. I guess you've been part of that ecosystem, but now over the last 12 months, a lot is suddenly happening and people are building on Bitcoin. And I guess it started with Ordinals, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think there have been various experiments on Bitcoin going back over a decade, but Ordinals, which really landed about a year ago, really changed the equation because it showed just how much you could still do on Bitcoin as a result of Taproot, which was introduced before, previously to the advent of Ordinals. And us folks who are working on in the L2 space with Stacks in particular really woke up to, oh, wow, like that's a really complementary design space for us to also build in. And it hasn't been just Ordinals. There's also been something called Stamps, which is similar to Ordinals in some ways, but different. But there have been a set of ways in which essentially developers and users alike have been able to begin storing data on Bitcoin for the purposes of Web3 applications directly on the chain of any type. So it could be images, it could be sound, it could be code, etc. And have that data benefit from the durability of Bitcoin in theory forever. So it's really a once in a sort of lifetime sort of thing, I think. And also, I think it's actually really significant for just the course of humankind, frankly. That's maybe grandiose, but we really now have this durable humankind-wide database that we can put things in communally and have a high level of confidence it's going to be there for generations. That's literally never existed in the history of our species. And so we're super excited about it, not just for short-term reasons, because I think it's brought in a lot of attention into Bitcoin that was previously reserved for other blockchains like Ethereum or Solana. But we think it's a foundation to build generational technology, essentially.
Yeah, well, maybe just let's dig into that just a little bit then, Mark, because if you say that ordinals are potentially this kind of super groundbreaking once in a generation technology, obviously Bitcoin is as well, I suppose, but just talk us through one or two examples of why you think, particularly with ordinals, that is such an important piece of technology, for the future.
Yeah. Well, it's the same principle as why we value Bitcoin so much, right? So you just think, okay, Bitcoin, normal vanilla Bitcoin, we've always valued, or for the last decade, we've learned to value deeply. What is that? I mean, why do we value Bitcoin so much? Because it's information of a particular type historically of holdings, asset holdings, tokens, essentially, currency that we can trust is going to be recognized communally and not corruptible for long periods of time. Again, in theory, forever, out of the hands of any particular authority. And we can rebuild our society around it and have more confidence that there's not going to be this sort of backdoor way for it to be diminished in value or modified. So you say, okay, that's been the case with Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin is so groundbreaking and so important. Now extend that same principle to other data types, right? Because currency holdings, it's a super important type of information, right? How much you own, how much I own our training history, all that. However, it's just one type of information. And so now you can think of expanding that same property to literally any type of information and store it on Bitcoin and have the same value. So you ask about use cases. I mean, the use cases are in theory infinite, but you can think of things like art, which we're already seeing in Ordinals as being a huge trend, especially high-end art. Any kind of documents, whether encrypted or public, that you need to have there, you need to have available for whomever, for an organization, for individuals, for a long period of time, generationally. Or if you're trying to build applications that need to use data primitives that are complex and have a lot of storage relative to your standard Bitcoin transaction. And you need those data objects to be there, again, for a long time, so that you build something today, and in 10, 20, 50 years, they can still be referenced. Bitcoin now provides that with things like Ordinals. And that's a design frontier. It's just, it's really just up to us as a community to now imagine how to fill it and how to take advantage of it.
Yes, indeed. And look, we'll talk about perhaps also why ordinals are. Obviously, there's been some controversy. Some people are all about ordinals, and some people really are not. And as everything Bitcoin, both sides are very passionate and vocal in their opinions. But it's obviously the same on other chains, on other communities. Maybe just I'd love to get your understanding, Mark, on, because you talked about art, particularly high-end art, being one of the, I guess, the early or first use cases that people can easily understand and partake on with ordinals. And one of the things that I think an easy way to kind of understand the difference between, let's say, kind of art-based NFTs, if you like, on Bitcoin and on Ethereum and Solana is, NFTs began on Ethereum. NFTs now are also on Solana, and of course it's much cheaper to transact on Solana, so Solana NFTs have been having a bit of a moment. Whereas it feels like ordinals are something different again. There's more of a premium, and I guess that there are reasons behind that. But just love to understand if you kind of relate to that or how you think about it.
Most definitely. I think of Bitcoin as a premium blockchain in general, and that definitely applies to art. And that's for various reasons. One big difference when you compare NFTs on Ethereum or Solana or any other L1 that's not associated with Bitcoin is that the actual asset, the actual art, tends to be not stored on chain. It's actually stored somewhere else. It could be a regular Web 2.0 server. It could be on something like IPFS, sort of off-chain but distributed system, but it's not stored actually on-chain. And so what you're storing is you're actually storing the ownership receipt, and that's still powerful, but it's not as powerful as actually having the asset, the actual art, on-chain, because it's not benefiting from the same robustness, the same security of being on-chain. And then on top of that, even if you do store the asset on chain on those other chains, in our view, the security level isn't as high, and so you're still not benefiting from the same durability as you would by saving to Bitcoin, because in 20 years, the probability that it's still around, that chain is still around and not corrupted, is not as high as with Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself has certain constraints around how much you can save to a given block. Your block times are slower. All these things add up to the fact that if you want to store art or other data on Bitcoin, it is going to be more expensive. But it's going to be expensive for a good reason, because you're paying for a better product, essentially. And so I think that just naturally correlates with a tendency towards higher end art, because you'll need to, of course, justify that you're storing something of value on chain. And this is going to be, of course, more acute when there are boom times, when there's lots of usage on Bitcoin. We've seen this the last year and a half. Fee rates have gone way up at times and pushed out lower quality or lower value activity. And that's natural. That's a good thing. That's a healthy thing to happen. And something that we'll see, I think, continue to happen, even if we see layer twos like Stacks and others take up sort of the slack, if you will, for activity that doesn't warrant that high cost.
Yes, indeed, that makes sense. Look, let's bring it back to Leather Wallet then, Mark. So, Leather Wallet, easy way to understand it, really is a Web3 wallet for Bitcoin. And that you wouldn't expect, as I say, a year, 2 years ago, you wouldn't have expected people to, describe a wallet in that term or using that terminology. Even today, it's crazy that here we are in 2024, really starting to get deep into the blockchain era, if you like. And wallets still certainly, and I'm not picking on Leather at all. I'm talking about MetaMask, all the other wallets on all the other chains, still very clunky. Where am I going with this? Tell us the vision for Leather as a Web3 wallet and Bitcoin. Look, I'm sure there's it'll be a never-ending kind of product journey, but where are we at the moment? What are some of the things that we can do on Leather, and how are we kind of designing for the future to kind of solve some of these problems as we kind of bring in the next wave of new users? I know these are big questions. Tackle it any way you want, Mark.
Yeah, sure. Well, you point out something I think it's worth speaking to, the clunkiness, right? And I think you're correct in indicating that. I think things are getting better, but that is traditionally the state of affairs. And having worked in this for now quite a while, and seeing firsthand the dynamics, I think there are clear reasons why that is. It's not as though the industry is lazy and we're not trying to make things better. But I think what happens a lot of times, and this is not just with wallets, but with applications in crypto, is that things move very quickly at times, and folks are generally trying to look for opportunities that are very emergent. And so it's either a technological opportunity, something like Ordinals or Stacks in our case, Ethereum, there's other innovations. And the emphasis that the teams place is on moving very fast to be one of the first movers or the first mover in a particular new trend. And that's usually technologically driven. You have a new sort of protocol, and you have a bunch of speculators that come in. We sort of lovingly call them degens. And the product teams are trying to ship something as quickly as possible to satisfy their needs, which is in some ways a very healthy part of how crypto works. I think crypto has really sort of taken off, if you will, or sort of gained its initial use cases based on these very micro trends at times, where things are happening overnight or seasonally. But you have all this experimentation as far as functionally what you can do across these products. Like MetaMask, for example, has lots of different things you can do with it. It's very impressive from a functional point of view. However, that constant chasing of these trends doesn't lend itself very well to a very cohesive user experience long term. And it's something that we're very conscious of at Leather, and frankly, something we want to do differently than most of crypto. We want to essentially resist the temptation of always chasing the next hot thing. We don't want to be first. We want to be better. And so when you ask, okay, well, where things stand, where we're going with Leather, for me going into this year, it's really working on stepping back and taking a broader view of where we think things are going, fitting the microtrends into that view, and designing things very intentionally with a holistic approach. And that means sometimes slowing down, redesigning things we already have functionally, going back, doing a second, third, fourth version of an existing feature set. And of course, we have to balance that with, just like with Ordinals, when it rose, we have to be responsive, if you will. But we can't be so responsive that we're reactive, because I think one of the pitfalls that crypto, I think, still has to grapple with very broadly is that if we only build things for insiders, folks who are already in the know, already queued up to use things tomorrow, if only there were an opportunity, we're not going to be building and designing things for the mainstream. I think that's one of the existential threats, frankly, to crypto, is that we need to sort of lift our heads a little bit further and look across the horizon and plan further out, because if not, it's going to be very hard for us to communicate these things to a wider audience.
Yeah, very well said. Again, Mark, look, it's an interesting time in Bitcoin, and it always is an interesting time in crypto. There's always a lot happening, but obviously here at the start of 2024, we've just had 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs approved in the US finally. So I think, Bitcoiners are rightly, I think excited about that. But we can kind of see a future, Mark. I'm sure you're all too aware of this, where there'll be a large cohort of people around the world, well, I guess particularly with American investors, but people outside of the US can invest in these ETFs as well. People that are happy to get some exposure to Bitcoin without actually taking custody of the Bitcoin themselves and, indulging or collecting ordinals or doing anything like that, making their own ordinals. Or just, doing Web3 stuff, shall we say. So am I right then in thinking that, Lether is, it's a Bitcoin wallet for Bitcoiners, and you would see yourself very much that way?
Yeah, I think let's see, for Bitcoiners, it depends on how you define Bitcoiners, but yes, I think,
well, people
that
people that take custody of their own Bitcoin. Let's start with that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a narrow definition. Bitcoiners, folks who are very passionate and insider to crypto, and we definitely want it to be a wallet for them. However, we also want to be a wallet for the more mainstream Bitcoin holders, which
Yes.
are the type that I think you're referring to. And yeah, we believe Bitcoin has the most going for it long term. It's the most worldwide known crypto by far, right? And so when you have opportunities for folks to buy in, even if they're custodial paths, they're going to take it. I think most people I know who are not working on this are interested in buying Bitcoin, right? But they're not quite sure how to go about it yet, right? And so when we provide them with better options, they're going to do so, and then gradually we're going to get them to take more custody over their holdings. And we think that sort of worldwide reputation aligns very well with the fact that we think it's also the best platform to build a new digital economy. So very excited about these developments. I think it's gonna be an exciting year as far as I think Bitcoin itself. My hope is that Bitcoin further distinguishes itself from crypto in the sense that I think a lot of mainstream folks have a tarnished view of what crypto is, in quotes. And I think some of that's warranted and some of that's unwarranted, just given past events. But I think Bitcoin is going to further establish itself as a unique proposition within crypto, and folks will see it increasingly as something that has unique properties.
Yes, indeed. And I understand you have support for Ledger hardware wallets.
Yep, that's correct.
So that's obviously important. So do you see people can still, if they have larger amounts of Bitcoin, they can put that into, I guess, cold storage, but still, access the wonderful world of Web3 just, via Lether, but connected to Ledger.
Yeah, exactly. We call Lether just Lether. It's Lether Wallet. I think a lot of people call us, of course, informally, because it makes sense. We are a wallet provider, and we'll continue to be so. But the core part in which you store your key is it's a feature of our product, in the sense that we're known to be software wallets, where extension you can install into your browser or download to your computer. However, it's really a product designed to help you manage your key or your keys for your various wallets any way that makes the most sense for you. So we support Ledger as a key management option, so you can connect that to Lether and use the two together. So you have access to Web3 via our interface and our integrations, but you get the security benefits of using something like Ledger. And that's a principle we'll extend to other key options. So there are cloud-based key management services, there are other hardware wallets, et cetera. And it's not something that we just want one option within our software product. We want to have an extensible range of options for users.
I like that. Makes sense. But let's talk some numbers. You guys had a great. I guess it's a blog on the Leather website from about 9 days ago, gearing up for 2024 with Leather. But you start the blog just kind of running through some of the, I guess, user growth metrics from 2023. And look, I'm sure it's going to be a huge 2024 and probably 2025 and beyond for Bitcoiners, for you guys at Leather, no doubt. But just give us a sense of I guess growth in terms of people installing or using Leather across 2023.
Yeah, it was a huge year for us. Just our new installations of product were up by hundreds of thousands. Actual active usage was also way up, several orders of magnitude compared to 2022. We have to also remember that going into 2023, we were in a pretty deep bear market in crypto. And so I actually think it's kind of unfair to compare it to that period, because anything will look good to that. If you compare a bull market to a bear market, it's always going to look better. And I think Ordinals produced this sort of mini bull market for us. But even if you compare it to the previous large macroeconomic cycle, going back to 2021, we were several orders of magnitude more active as far as how many users, how many transactions people were doing with the wallet, installations, of course, just interest when it comes to folks on Twitter and across the media. So, in crypto, things always come in waves, and the waves come and crash over you, and then they subside a bit, and there's a bit of a period of a lull, and there's another wave that's usually bigger. And we're, gearing up for the next one. I think 2024 bodes well to have a macroeconomic crypto bull run that is going to change our numbers yet again.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, look, as we finish up this part of the podcast, Mark, just look, anything else that you'd like to share as we, just begin our journey into 2024? Bitcoin halving, of course, is on the horizon. So there'll be a lot of attention on Bitcoin this year, even perhaps from the mainstream as the ETFs start to just get more and more popular, one would imagine. And that they will, of course, all those ETF providers, BlackRock and Fidelity and the like, will be essentially marketing Bitcoin to mainstream America, which will be, that's amazing to think about. The halving, the halving will bring its own narrative. There'll be a lot of attention on Bitcoin, I think, is my point. How do you kind of capitalize on that? Do you want to capitalize on that? What's on your product roadmap? What do you expect? Just all things 2024, Leather, Bitcoin. What's up?
Yeah. Well, first off, for any of your listeners that have not yet dabbled in Bitcoin Web3 or Ordinals, or stamps or any of this that we're talking about, one easy opportunity is to go to an app that we integrate with. Gamma, for example, is one, gamma.io. You can go on there, find a piece of digital art, and use Leather to purchase it, and then later trade it. So I'll just throw that out there as a sort of intro path to get a taste of how this stuff works. And then as far as our roadmap, as I was talking about a bit before, we're in really deep redesign territory right now to really upgrade the user experience. Like you said, wallets tend to be clunky, and our aspiration goes far beyond that. At the same time, we're also introducing a third type of application. So we have desktop, web, and we'll have mobile as well this year. And so we're, of course, very excited to launch that. And going back to this question of layer twos, stacks and layer twos in general, we think are going to be very, very important, especially as we head into more bull run territory with Bitcoin, because we don't want people to be priced out entirely on the L1 front. We think there's a lot of programmable opportunities on L2s. And so our roadmap includes a lot more investment on the stack side as well, so that folks can bridge assets between Bitcoin and stacks and use them in smart contracts and stacks, especially with the debut of wrap Bitcoin on stacks later this year. So essentially lots of design upgrade work, mobile, and this whole equation of bridging assets between layers. That's going to be our set of themes for this year.
Yes, indeed. And look, shout out to Gamma, shout out to Brett at Gamma. Yeah, and if you do, I'll put a link to Gamma in the show notes. The Leather website as well, which is simply leather.io, link in the show notes. I reckon what we do, Mark, is we'll go to a quick break and then we'll come back. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off by running you through the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round. Back in 1 second.
Oh, this is a full-time job. Crypto markets really are 24/7. Oh, Elon's tweeted again about Dogecoin. I don't have the time to research the technical indicators of Dogecoin. What are you doing?
I just use Copy Trader on BitGet. One click and I'm copying the trades from an experienced crypto trader. Then it just gives me all the time in the world to watch my favorite Netflix shows and do all my favorite activities.
I've been up for 24 hours, I've had 16 cups of coffee, 8 energy drinks, and that bird noise is getting on my last nerve.
I think you need to go to bed.
Yeah, I need to go to bed.
Hands off, gains up. Start copy trading on BitGet.
All right, we are back, and I'm with Mark Hendrickson. Mark is the general manager of Leather. I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Just going to run some questions at you, Mark. Just give us, hot take style answers. Question one for you is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Dead in the middle. I'm trying to balance both of those extremes in my daily work.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Come on, explain it. Give us a little bit, just a little bit of context.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'd say I'm a maxi in the sense that I'm a really diehard believer in the unique principles of Bitcoin and the value proposition. I think Bitcoin has importantly defended itself on the security front for a number of years. And so that's why I'm building on it. I think it's the best foundation. I believe I'm more of a multi-chain and I guess the Web3 crypto sort of type as well, because obviously I'm trying to do more with Bitcoin and build on it in an extensible manner. And I think traditionally, I think these have been viewed as you're in one camp or the other. You either care about Bitcoin's fundamental value proposition, or you don't care and you just want to go wild and just build a bunch of stuff that might be very risky and insecure. I don't believe that. I think we actually have to synthesize those two different camps. And so yeah, Leather, for example, we're very open and interested in building bridges with other chains. And so we believe in the multi-chain equation, but we also believe in settling everything back to Bitcoin. So yeah, then in the middle of that one.
I like it. All right. Leather. Why leather? Whose idea was leather as a brand? And what's the thinking behind leather? Yeah,
we wanted something that was different than what other crypto companies were going for aesthetically, and leather for us, it's kind of old school, and it's tangible. It's physical. There's a texture to it. It harkens back to obviously a physical leather wallet. It has that connotation, almost like skeuomorphic, for what a wallet was. Although I think in 10 years, nobody's going to be carrying around a leather wallet anymore. So it'll be very, very much like a floppy disk. But we wanted it to be like that. We wanted it to have that sort of connotation, but be very subtle. And we just like how it sounds, leather. It's nice and it's luxurious as well. So we talk about higher end arts and assets on Bitcoin to get lines for them.
Yeah, no, I like it, and I like the I guess the brand identity as well, which you can see on the website leather.io. But I guess the typography, and it's quite simple, but it's big and bold and kind of monochrome as well. It's it's well done. Next question for you, Mark, is Ordinals critics. So the anti-Ordinals crowd, if you like, they get down on Ordinals because too many people are buying, trading, producing ordinals, then Bitcoin fees go up, and they see that as a bad thing. Why are they wrong?
The view that more activity and more demand for Bitcoin can be bad for Bitcoin it fluxes me. I think it's a very sort of short-term or narrow sort of view of things. You're just looking at your own use cases, which I think the founding principles of Bitcoin, if folks want to go back to those, were much broader than any given person's unique idea of, well, this is what I should be able to put on chain. And if folks are putting things on chain that you don't like, well, all the better. That's why we have a blockchain. And fee rates have to go up over time to incentivize mining, to secure the network in the very long run. And so it's an argument against Ordinals, which I just find sort of absurd on its face.
Yes, indeed. All right, Mark, what would you say then is your firmest conviction Bitcoin opinion?
What's my firmest conviction? This might not be a very specific answer, but I think it's remarkable just how well Bitcoin was designed architecturally from the very start. And that's not to say that it hasn't evolved. It has evolved. I mean, it's an organic thing. And people are sometimes mistaken in thinking that it's sort of inscribed, no pun intended, in the past, and it's not going to change immediately. But I think Bitcoin got so many important initial design decisions right. And the conviction is that we now have the opportunity to build on top of those decisions. And that includes things like proof of work, which these days is controversial in some sense, but I think also fundamentally very necessary.
Yeah, very much agree. All right. Well, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So look, anything you like. Bitcoin, Ordinals, leather, what does it all look like in 10 years' time?
On a very broad sense, in 10 years' time, Bitcoin is going to be held and used as an actual active asset by most people, mainstream. Now, it might not be used on Bitcoin as a layer one in a daily fashion. I don't think it's going to be something that people use to buy coffee, for example. I don't think that's appropriate for it. But it'll be something that Bitcoin as a platform and also Bitcoin as an asset, folks use on layers or with other asset types. They could be stable coins, they could be art, there'll be other types of data, like I was saying, documents, etc., that most people are going to be owning and interacting with on a regular basis. If not daily, it'll be weekly or monthly. And so I think when we think the very short term, that seems in 10 years, how's it possible we'll get there? Because we're sort of fighting these more incremental fights in the short term. But I think it's one of these things that there'll be certain tipping points, and it's going to happen.
Bring on 2034. William Gibson famously said, Mark, that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
Well, yeah, I think when you look at crypto, there's a number of things that folks are already doing, already investing in, or applications. And these aren't large communities. They're sort of the crypto user base, the active crypto user base is relatively quite small compared to Web2. However, those folks are already exhibiting behaviors that I think we're going to see in the future go mainstream, like I was saying in my previous response. So you don't have to fully imagine in 10 years what these mainstream users will be doing, right? You can look at current patterns and say, well, the future is here among that set of people. And that's when it comes to DeFi and NFTs and applications that use your identity as backed on chain, et cetera. There'll be more advanced versions of those, of course, but similar to how people were using the web in 1994, it's going to be sort of a much better version in the future, but it's not going to be entirely different.
Yep, makes sense. Thank you for that. Time to finish this off, Mark. The final question for you is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
There is a very classic sci-fi short story from the 80s, which is really important for all of this, called True Names. And I like to evangelize it a little bit because, well, it's true, I'm not sort of a regular sci-fi reader, et cetera. I think if you go back to True Names and you read it, and this is a short story that really predicted the internet and crypto in a sense, and things that haven't come to pass yet. You see in that short story a lot of important concepts at play. So I'll throw True Names out there as a particular suggestion for folks who are listening.
Yeah, True Names, a 1981 science fiction novella by American writer Vernor Vinge, one of the earliest stories to present a fully fleshed out concept of cyberspace, which would later be central to cyberpunk. And the story also contains elements of transhumanism. So yeah, it's a great pick there, Mark. True Names, cool. Vernor Vinge, 1981. And that is
are you familiar with it? Or it sounds like you might be.
No, I'm not familiar with it. I just pulled it up on Wikipedia.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely check it out.
Check it out.
There's a whole compendium online. There are essays that are written about it. It's worth diving into for historical reasons.
Yeah, no, look, I am familiar with Vernor Vinge, the author, but I haven't really heard of True Names, but it does look fantastic. And obviously, big early influence on cyberpunk, cyberspace, transhumanism, the internet, all that good stuff, crypto. Brings us nicely to the end of the show. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show, spending some time with us today. To talk about leather. Just again, look, in closing, for people that want to get involved with Bitcoin, with Bitcoin Ordinals, Web3 on Bitcoin, playing around with leather, what should they do? Where should they go?
Yeah, as mentioned before, I'd suggest head over to Gamma, gamma.io. You can install and connect Leather. If you find a piece of art that you want to purchase, it's right there as you hit the purchase button. Deposit some Bitcoin, acquire it, hold on to it for a while, maybe track the collection, and then if you want, at some point, sell it. It's probably the easiest thing to do to get started.
Very good. All right. Simple as that. Hey, thank you so much, Mark. All the best, and bye for now.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. That was Mark from Leather. I like the name Leather, and I like the branding for it. I still can't, for some reason, I think when I think leather, maybe it's just my past as a DJ. Like, there used to be like a gay nightclub called Leather, or the BDSM scene or something like that. Maybe I've just seen too many movies with they'll have like the nightclub scene will be at Leather. I don't know. Anyway, it makes much more sense, as Mark explained it, though, that leather isn't a leather wallet. Of course, it just makes sense. Like, I've got a leather wallet. I've got a Comme des Garçons leather wallet that I was given by, I guess, my mother-in-law 15 years ago. And it's a leather wallet, and I love it. But of course, as everything just goes more digital, and we all have, various digital wallets, leather, it just makes sense. But if you want to learn all about leather and check out as I say, the typography and the branding, which I think very cool, go to leather.io. And you can install it from the website. But if you want to, just play around, getting some artwork, stuff like that, as Mark said, Gamma. And my old mate, Elahurf, Brett, as part of the Gamma crew. I must have Brett back on the show. We've been threatening to do it. We're going to do it at some point. Talk about the 3-body problem, all sorts of things. 3-body problem, of course, coming up on Netflix this year from the producers of the Game of Thrones TV series. Yeah. Anyway, rambling a bit at the end of the show, as sometimes we do. True Names, Werner Vinge. It's a great reference as well. All right. Well, thank you for listening, team. Thanks to the Leather team. Thanks to Mark for coming on the show. And thank you for listening, team. Please make sure you subscribe to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But that is it for today. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Corp.